The world is a global village.
And that's because information travels beyond boundaries.
And on this morning on ITV,
we guarantee unbiased analysis on topical issues
that will educate you,
entertain you.
So join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Every Sunday to Thursday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television. This morning on ITV, TMI. Join us.
It's still TMI Monday. Many thanks for keeping a date with me on the show. And of course, today I told you a major focus will be on the on health and on the environment. Well, they are interconnected. And we begin with health because, as you know, health is wealth. Well, the Lassa fever outbreak is taking the country by storm, is raging, and several deaths occurred, and several numbers. I mean, still counting. I'm sure in the course of this discussion, you know where we are with the Lassa fever outbreak. Now, something happened, I think it was yesterday in Abuja, where about 5 guys went to one of the hospitals and they faked having coronavirus. And after tests were carried out, they discovered that these guys were fake. I'm sure that's fake news, and by now they should be cooling off somewhere. But that's just on the lighter side. I have the singular honor and privilege to have with me on set the Chief Medical Director of Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital. And you know that hospital is famous for being at the forefront in dealing with cases of Lassa fever. As a matter of fact, a reference point in the country as far as Lassa fever issue is concerned. I'd like to thank very especially the erudite Professor Silvanus Okugbeni. Thank you for joining us, Prof.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
We also have with us here this guy. I have a very long history with him, dating back to time. Some time ago, you know, as broadcasters, sometimes you work late, and when you're hungry, you really may not really give a damn about where you want to eat. You just want to put something in the stomach. I did that, and by the following day, was as though the end of my enemy has come. My stomach was twisting, my intestine was, I actually thought that the end had come for me. They call it food poisoning. I never really saw food poisoning from that perspective. And then I was taken to a hospital where he was, and all through the duration, he kept on smiling and smiling. Don't worry, you'll be fine within the next few minutes. I didn't believe it, really, because it was that bad. But lo and behold, a few days later, I was cool and calm, and the food poisoning was gone. My stomach returned to normal. I could eat normally. Dr. Patrick Okundia is the Edo State Commissioner for Health, is a consultant, and Doc, many thanks for joining us, and thank you for that day.
You're welcome any day. Thanks for having me.
Okay, now today we want to talk about Lassa fever. Yes, we don't need to go into the history. I'm sure you even know the history more than us here. But what do we know about Lassa fever outbreak, particularly this year, 2020? But the interesting thing is that this keeps coming like a recurring decimal. So why is it a recurring decimal with Lassa fever? That's our start-off point. Let me begin with Professor Silvanus Okugbeni. Why is it a recurring decimal? I mean, we just know that between December, January, March, I mean, Lassa fever is going to come out. Why?
Well, thank you very much for that question. And the truth is that Lassa fever is spread by rodents, the rats.
Yes.
They live with us. They are amongst us. And like I often say, they have a residential permit. Unlike Ebola that was imported into the country.
Okay.
We don't have Ebola as a virus in the country. But we have the rats that carry the virus, and they are there with us. Now, it's seasonal because we notice it more in the dry season. And that's one thing we're trying to still unravel. There's been many theories, but there are still theories. The bush burning, may let the rats leave the bush and enter into the houses. So we do suspect that that's one reason why we get them in the dry season. But what's obvious is that the rats live with us, they are infected, and once they're infected for life. And from time to time, they enter the human population and they spread this amongst human beings. So we've come to agree that the rats and the virus live amongst us. And therefore, that's why when we talk about prevention, we're trying to break the rat-to-human contact. And that's why we've been seeing it more seasonally.
Okay. Dr. Patrick Okundia, I'm concerned with the fact that I'm sure after a while, those who are unfortunate to die as a result of Lassa fever infection, that will happen. Those who are lucky to survive it, that will also happen. Then somewhere along the line, it just fizzles out, it ebbs out, and it's like it's over. All right, I don't know what you make of that, because then next year we are back to it again. Yeah.
Thank you. Viruses generally have that similar pattern.
Okay.
They come like a wild wind and they leave. And then they leave in the wake of their time, damages, loss of life and morbidities.
Okay.
That is typical of viruses. But Lassa fever is its own specific type of virus called the hemorrhagic virus. It comes this way during these seasons that my colleague just mentioned. But when it does, there will be casualties. And then by the time it's going towards the end, it on its own disappears. All right, so that is the typical pattern of all viruses.
Interesting. Okay, Prof, you said they are spread by rats, and they've got residential permits. They took it themselves. We didn't give them, and so they live with us. I mean, over the years, and they continually, from time to time, will have this. Let's look at the signs and the symptoms of one who has Lassa fever infestation.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very important question because people ought to know. The important thing about Lassa is that it presents like any other febrile illness, just like malaria. And it starts slowly, insidiously. So you don't even know that there's something that could be very dangerous that is being that you're harboring.
Okay.
So it could just be mild fever, high headache, tiredness, a little nausea, a little vomiting, and you take it for granted. Then it begins to progress. You now begin to get sore throat, cough, chest pain. By the time you're beginning to notice bleeding into the urine, coughing of blood, vomiting of blood, bleeding under the skin, then you know it's really getting serious. From there, it can progress into renal failure. The kidney shuts down, urine production stops. It can also get into the brain and begin to cause convulsions and seizures. For pregnant women, we talk about abortions. It's a major cause of abortion in the first trimester. In fact, many women in the first trimester who are infected with the virus lose their babies.
Okay.
It's only when you get to the second, third trimester that you can have intrauterine fetal death, you can have bleeding, and then you can actually at that point take the mother's life if they are not properly cared for. So the important thing is when there's a fever, when there's a headache, when there's body pains that's not resolving with your normal anti-malaria, with your normal antibiotics, then you should quickly seek medical attention.
What's the duration, what's the gestation period for this?
Incubation period between the contact and the onset of the disease typically is said to be between 5 days and 21 days. But sometimes we see some coming as early as 2 days.
Okay.
So any contact, if we have to monitor the patient for at least 21 days, then once the symptom starts, it's important that you get to the hospital quickly because within 3 weeks of the start of the symptom, it actually can cause mortality.
Okay. Dr. Okundia,
yes.
Let's talk about individual habits and practices that could expose us to this disease. You want to talk along those lines?
Yes, very, very important. First, we must understand that prevention is very key in the control and management of Lassa fever. So prevention has a lot to do with hygiene, personal hygiene, environmental sanitation. This is key. And we all know that prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is what we are doing, trying to sensitize people on the need to improve on their personal hygiene, our environment. We know the particular rat that is responsible for this, this disease, the multi-mammate rats. They are not normally domiciled in our homes. They are bush rats. Now, if we have situations where we do not take care of our environment and these rats are within the bush, sometimes they can stroll into the homes. But more importantly, when this season, what it also implies, the period is dry and then we engage in bush burning. This drives these rats from their bushes and they need to find a better habitat and they get access to our homes. And then when they are inside the house, we could still do a lot of prevention while they are even living in the houses. All we need to do is to take care of our foodstuffs, our gari, our rice, our beans, these grains. The proper storage method is very important. Now, if we expose these things down, all the rats need to do, they need to feed. When they go in there, just their saliva alone, their urine, their excreta on this is just enough to spread the virus into this foodstuff. Then even the cooked food we have, when we cook in the kitchen, sometimes the habits that sometimes we open our food, the pot will be left open. We are advising that is not right. Cover it. Even the spoon that you used, once you are not using, dispose of it. Now, when you eat your food and you probably did not finish it, don't leave it open and come back later and start eating that food. The rat may have had access to it and then the virus is spread. So personal hygiene is very key. The same way contact with this rat itself. Some persons have the habit. They could just have hand-to-hand contact with hand-to-rat contact and they can spread this infection to themselves. So that is very key. In the other level of human-to-human contact, there's need to be very, very precautious as well. Where you have an individual that is already infected, maybe has not even become symptomatic, probably has put his hand in his mouth or his nose and gives a handshake, it can also transmit.
So we should stop shaking hands?
Well, we say clean your hands, wash your hands properly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so if we need to, at home, before you do anything, do a proper hand wash under a running tap with soap, preferably. That way we can prevent the spread of this virus.
Okay. All right, Prof. Because of the location of ERA Specialist Teaching Hospital, it will be obvious to say that frequently cases are reported there. Give us the picture in terms of the spread of this virus, of this disease, in the rural areas compared to the urban areas. Because he talked about, for example, one of the simple ways you can maintain personal hygiene is to wash your hands with soap. But we know in rural areas, access to water is a challenge, a huge challenge. So I'd like to get your perspectives on this.
Well, I think very correctly, washing the hand very frequently helps to prevent both Lassa and many other infections. Even for the coronavirus, you'll still be hearing wash your hands. So it's a very good way to do it. And many of the cases we get now from Issaco West, Issa Northeast, Issa West local governments, and then periodically we get from other local government areas. Well, there's rural as we are in the local government areas, but that should still not stop us from doing the precautions that we need to do to be able to prevent the infection. I think it is feasible and possible even in those places to wash your hands very frequently. It doesn't need any special thing, just soap and water. Wash your hands. Wash your hands as you leave the house. Wash your hands as you come into the house. Don't be in the habits of using your hands in your mouth or your nose or your eyes. Good personal hygiene really helps to prevent the infections.
Okay. How do you deal with the issue of some guys in the rural areas who go for rat hunting and then they set the bush ablaze? Perhaps they also boost their protein intakes.
Yeah, we often say eating rat is no longer safe. Not because you cannot cook it well, but the whole idea of the preparation. You catch the rat, you kill the rat, you prepare the rat. All that can spread a lot of virus if the rat is infected. Okay. And that goes along with spreading the disease.
Okay.
So we try to avoid, we tell people to avoid eating the rats because the process of preparing it itself is very, can be very dangerous to us.
Okay, so that means it's more prevalent in rural areas compared to the urban areas?
I frankly think so.
Okay, yeah. Doc, what was the numbers like in terms of statistics?
All right. It's important to state that we are in the 5th epidemiological week since the onset of this year, 2020 Lassa fever outbreak. As we speak for Edo State, we have a total number of 127 confirmed cases since onset. Out of these 127 confirmed cases, we have recorded, sadly, 11 deaths. 11 deaths. And from our records, the bulk of these 11 deaths are those that presented very late to the hospitals. We have over 1,000 contacts that are being followed up.
1,000?
1,000
in Edo State?
In Edo State. The idea, for a clarification, contacts are those relatives, anybody that had contact with a confirmed case. We find their numbers and we will trace them to wherever they are. Once they are being traced, the surveillance team will monitor them for the next 21 days. This is falls within the incubation period of the virus to ascertain if they will become symptomatic. If anyone becomes symptomatic, such a person will now be taken back for investigation to confirm if he has the virus or not. But after 21 days without symptom, we can say he or she is free and we'll allow him or she to go without further follow-up. It's also, we need to compare figures. The figures this year, unfortunately, in terms of the number of cases suspected and confirmed, seem to have increased more than that of last year.
Is there any reason for that?
I will come to that. But however, because of the level of preparedness and thanks to ISTH, because of the level of managerial input, we've recorded less case fatality. So as we speak, we've been able to maintain a case fatality rate of a single digit compared to last year when it was double digits.
But let me get something clear. We have more cases this year compared to last year. But we have lower cases of fatalities compared to last year. That's good news, really.
Now you wanted to find out what may be responsible. It is sad to note that Lassa fever is not longer news to most of us because it has been there. We recorded the highest outbreak in 2018, and we also emphasized the need to continue to sensitize people. But it's sad that especially our people in the very far rural areas still have poor knowledge of this virus infection. And we have redirected our level of sensitization this time. That all the patients that have been admitted, we do a follow-up and do some form of inquiries. Many of them will claim they are not aware. And don't you watch televisions? Don't you listen to radios? And some will say we don't even have light, so we don't even have access to such information. So we are redirecting our
information strategy and our communication strategy.
We have the surveillance teams from the state, the local government. Now we are going down home to home. And then we are going through market to market, from schools to schools, and then trying to send this message across.
Prof, you want to add something to that, these numbers?
Well, especially for the reduced mortality, I think it's because we are better prepared. We receive supplies from the NCDC, we receive supplies from the Edo State government, and we have just purchased new dialysis machine because one of the major causes of death is renal failure. And sometimes you can have your dialysis machines are all occupied. So we just brought in 2 new ones this weekend because we really intend to keep the mortality below double digit to a single digit.
All right, let's talk about the cost. You talked about supplies and support from NCDC. you talk about supplies and support from Edo State government. Does that mean treatment for Lassa fever is free?
We'll soon be there. It will soon be completely free.
But so it's not completely free
for
now?
now, no, not yet completely free in Europe, because the testing for the disease, we do a PCR with a molecular diagnosis test. That is completely free. Otherwise, it will cost 300,000 naira.
Wow.
The drug of choice for the treatment is ribavirin. That too is completely free. Otherwise, you'll be paying at least 250,000 naira.
That's 550,000 already.
Yeah, but all that is completely free. What we'll charge for is 1,000 naira for the bed space in a day. And then there's a Lassa pack, which contains all your gloves, all your injections, all your infusions, all your antiseptics.
Okay.
That costs 17,500. But the truth also is that all those who cannot afford even that are treated free. Because many of the patients are indigent. Even when they cannot afford it, we still treat them free and allow them go home. But the good news really is that this week I will be signing an MOU with the NCDC, and the federal government is actually going to make everything free completely. Okay. And we've had all the details and all the paperwork done. We expect that this week we'll sign the MOU, and then another 2-3 weeks.
Okay. And now, Prof, you talked about signing MOU. Yeah. Does that mean if you sign the MOU today, by tomorrow, the content of the MOU will become functional? Is that what it means?
Yeah. I don't see why not. We'll sign it this week, and by next week I do expect it to become functional. Okay.
Doctor, you want to add something to that? Because this is very, very key. If such a very deadly disease, and many of the people, most of the people that are affected, they are indigent. Yes, so let's get your perspectives on this.
Yeah. Prof has said a lot about the effort from the federal government, and now this MOU. This is a welcome development.
Okay.
But we see the fight against Lassa fever as a collaborative one, where both the federal government, the state government, the local government, and even non-governmental organizations should be in the forefront of fighting this. It's something that we are achieving great results because of this collaboration. The states, let me put it this way, in Lassa fever issues, it's under 4 focal approaches. Okay. All right, we have the case management issue, and then we have the laboratory testing issues, which is being handled by ISTH. And it's important for us to know ISTH is being designated and recognized as the center of excellence for Lassa fever treatment and research. In fact, he's going to go into the area of research and tell us the effort they've done in terms of creating vaccines. Now, the other aspect, which involves surveillance and disease surveillance, and then the area of sensitization, the states takes full responsibility of that. This is the level of collaboration we are involved in. But even at that level of treatment, we see how we can also support. That is why what we do as the states, which the state governor, Governor Basaki, has approved expressly, that we make some supplies of personal protective equipment to aid the health workers and to prevent further spread of the disease. So at the centers, they have things to protect themselves and make the treatment seamless. All right. Sensitization. We, the states, in collaboration with the local government, and more importantly, the role that our international partners have been playing. Of note is the World Health Organization. They're doing a yeoman's job. They don't mind going to the last of the communities. So they've been doing that a lot, and we are achieving results with the collaboration. And then the area of surveillance, the collaboration is still there, the state, the local government, and the WHO. We are doing all that.
Okay, fantastic. I was coming to the last part of the statement you raised, or what you mentioned as it relates to the possibility of a vaccine. With these years of research on Lassa fever, where are we at as far as the possibility of getting a vaccine?
Yeah, I think it's become clear to everybody now that to completely eradicate Lassa fever, it's going to take a vaccine. And the World Health Organization is working very closely with us, very closely with the NCDC to achieve this. And many things are in motion. We are commencing a study very soon with CEPI to do what we call the epidemiological studies. These are studies you do that will help you form the design for the vaccine trials. This should commence anytime from next month. Now with that, we will now have the statistics with which we are going to design a vaccine trial. And as for the vaccine itself, you don't just bring a drug and introduce it into the community. It has to go through phases of trials. There are animal trials with the vaccines. There are phase 1 human trials, phase 2 human trials, and phase 3 human trials. Now, animal trials have been done, and the vaccines have been found to be active in preventing the virus in animals. Once you do that, then you now come to phase 1 trial in humans, which is first to see whether the vaccines are safe. They've done phase 1 trials and the vaccines are safe. So we are moving to the phase 2 human trials now, in which case we're going to give the vaccine to a few people and see whether their body reacts positively by producing the antibodies that will eliminate the virus.
Okay.
And we're working very closely with that, with CEPI. CEPI is an international organization that works with WHO, that's partnering with us, partnering with NCDC, to see that we can start these phase 2 trials very soon.
All right, that's cheering and very encouraging. If you just join us, it's still TMI Monday. On the show today, we've been looking at curtailing the spread of Lassa fever against the background that Edo State has been frontline in research and development just to ensure that this disease is stamped out, not just from Edo State, but from the country. And I have very erudite scholars with me on set, the Chief Medical Director, Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital, the Center of Excellence in Lassa Fever Research, Professor Sylvanus Okogben is with us here, and the Edo State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Patrick Okundia, is also with us here in the studio. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look at the general outlook in the country right now in terms of the spread, in terms of the numbers, in terms of collaboration. Which state is leading or is topping the table, topping the chart in this? Let me come to Dr. Nkudia.
Yes, thank you. We have what we call epidemiological weeks. The very first week, the prevalence was more in the Ondo State.
Ondo State.
Ondo State, they topped the list. And that was followed by Edo State. And then we had Ebonyi State. And then later on, some other states started coming into the picture. But the latest report we have now is that Ondo State and Edo State are almost equal as topping the list as we speak. And other states have joined. Imo State, Taraba, Plateau State, and all others have come in Delta States are also involved now. But the lead state still remains Ondo and Edo states.
Okay, so what is Ondo State doing? If at the initial stage they were leading with the numbers, and today they're almost at par with it, what are they doing that has led to that?
Let me just state here that Ondo State have a center of treatment and a Lassa treatment center.
Okay.
The difference between Ondo State and Irua Specialist Hospital, Irua Specialist still remains that of research, but they've been able to achieve some level of support in addition to the federal government and NCDC. They also have a non-governmental organization supporting them with the treatment.
Okay.
And he just mentioned that going forward, Edo State is also going to benefit from that short while.
Okay.
I think we have situations where patients come from other states.
To Edo State.
Knowing that Edo State is the first center for Lassa treatment.
So maybe there's more of confidence and trust in what is available.
Yes.
Okay.
So even if a patient comes in from Kogi State, he will probably give you a lie that he's from Edo State so that he can benefit from the free treatment.
Okay.
So we have more patients coming in from outside Edo State into Edo State. And it actually represents the fact that services are better off. Like I said, our case fatality rate in Edo State is single digit,
Okay.
very low. But at the national level, it is still very high. In fact, Edo State is the state helping to bring the case fatality rate from the national figures. So it also brings that understanding that because responses and treatment is going well and better off in Edo State, a lot of patients are coming from outside.
Okay. So, Prof, the future is a vaccine. Yes, tell us more about that. I know you said something about that a while ago.
Yeah, the future is really the vaccine, and a lot of work is going into it. The Area Specialist Teaching Hospital is really championing the vaccine development, and we are working with the state government to do the preliminary community entry. We are currently also seeing the local governments to let them know that in a short while we'll be coming to the communities to recruit people for the study. Because the vaccines first have to be tried.
Yeah.
First on the small, the phase 2 trial is really to give the vaccines to about 200 people. And then watch, we text their blood serially. Are they producing the necessary antibodies you want them to produce? If they do that, then you know that this is a potentially good vaccine. Then you take it to a larger group of people within areas where Lassa fever is prevalent. You may now do it in another 3,000 people. Have these people produced the necessary antibodies? Are there any adverse effects? You do all that collation of data. And if you get good report, then you proceed to the larger phase 3 study. You can give it to 30,000 people in the community and see whether that year you're going to get this same amount of Lassa fever cases. Fantastic.
Okay, there's a new one, Wuhan coronavirus. I mean, actually saw someone specifically tied it to Wuhan because it started from there. So far so good, we've not had any case. But what are there similarities or differences with the Lassa fever, Dr. Gudia?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think was in the social space right now, social media space, there's a lot of confusion. People talking about the new coronavirus and interfacing it with Lassa fever. They are two completely different issues. What you call Wuhan coronavirus is actually a new type of virus that just came out. It's a respiratory virus. And the fact that he was first detected in Wuhan, a community in China, gave it that name. The significant part is that it's just new, so nothing much is known about it yet.
Okay.
And that is why it's creating the havoc it is doing right now. It's becoming global. It has spread to a lot of other countries outside China. But Nigeria is making a lot of measures in place to be able to prevent this coronavirus from coming into the country. Of course, it all borders on entry points. The virus, like I said, is a respiratory virus, so it's airborne. So it presents with simple respiratory tract infection symptoms, like catarrh, cough, and sneezing. And then it spreads to affect the lungs and reduces your respiratory system. You start to have difficulty with breathing, and that can progress to respiratory failure and then to death. The difference between coronavirus and Lassa fever is that the coronavirus has a shorter incubation period. A shorter incubation period. Some 3 to 5 days, the symptoms starts to manifest. In tackling coronavirus within our country, which is our business right now, is to be able to know that the difference is that this is a virus that started from China, so we have to watch out for anybody coming into the country.
Maybe quarantine them.
Nobody in the country right now has any coronavirus. So we have our attention on people coming in, whether they are Chinese or Nigerians or any other nationality, but they must have a history of having possibly traveled to China. All right. So the emphasis is at our ports, our entry points. So we in the states, Edo State, we're really not a port state, like we don't have international airport here.
Yeah.
But we also say we need to also be on the alert. All right, the Ministry of Health has made that effort to go to the Benin airport, and then we have called the management and even the medical team, educated them and gave them all that they need to do should any case come up. But efforts are really in top gear from the Federal Ministry of Health, and all the international airports have scanners, and anybody coming in, they duly screened. But more importantly, there's already a travel restriction from China. Yeah, so I believe we will not get there to coronavirus, God willing.
I hope so. Prof, you hope so too?
Yeah, I hope so.
Tell us more. This semi-confliction or confusion, so to speak, on the part of some people mistaking coronavirus for Lassa fever or Lassa fever for coronavirus.
So absolutely, like the Honorable Commissioner said, they are both quite different. The coronavirus is a respiratory virus. The Lassa virus invades all the body. In terms of incubation period also, and then the thing about the coronavirus is even before symptoms come up, patients can spread it to somebody. I think that's really what's particularly fearful about the virus. But I don't think there's none in Nigeria now. Like you said, the one we heard about was just a scare, a prank. And with the things that have been put at the border, I'm sure we'll be able to check it completely.
Absolutely.
And we pray that none of them come into the country.
All right, thank you very much. I want to say big thanks to the Honorable Commissioner for Health at this state, Dr. Patrick Okundia. We saw on Saturday, actually, at a friend's birthday, and then, of course, I extended this invitation, being one who is very, very comfortable with the media. Monday morning is here to enlighten us more about the Lassa fever and what you need to do, because you've got to take action. The interesting thing is that, in line with what we're talking about today, there is bush burning, which is what we're going to talk about next with our next set of panelists. And then the rats leave the bushes and they come to the house and they cause havoc. All right, so all we need to do is just imbibe some basic personal hygiene, and of course, like you know, they say cleanliness is next to godliness, and then I'm sure we'll be able to curtail it. But like Professor Sylvanus Okogbeni said, extensive research work, as a matter of fact, at an advanced stage, is ongoing with the vaccines being developed. I'm sure when that comes on stream, it will be bye-bye to Lassa fever. Maybe we just have a zero report on Lassa fever. But that's it's going to come, and we hope it comes soon. And then efforts are being made to ensure that treatments are absolutely free. That way, more people will be encouraged to come to facilities and receive medical attention to avoid the spread. I want to say big thanks to our panelists, Dr. Patrick Okundia, Commissioner for Health. Thank you so much for coming. And Professor Sylvanus Okundia, thank you so much. Okogbeni, thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Okay, it's the TMI Monday.